Hello, hello, hello. I hope you are doing well. I will actually analyze a very cool game in the Carokann because I realized that I don't really care if people worldwide know that I'm playing the Carokann um, because I understand this opening very correctly, and I want to show you this very strange line e4 c3. And even though you might say, yeah, it's not a main line, I want to learn some main lines, subscribe to the channel. I will be uploading a lot of theory videos on the Carokann, the King's Indian, and some other openings. You just have to put all the names, of course, in the comment section. Now, e5, and we basically transpose into the advanced variation with d4, bishop f5, e5, bishop f5, c3. So this is a very important line. e6, knight f3, and c5. And this is a very, very classical way to attack this pawn. If he takes, we will just take back with the bishop, and we're basically playing a French defense. And I already made a very cool video on the French defense, so go check out my most recent upload, and then you will be understanding this position even more. Bishop e2. The engine might be recommending bishop b5, but then you just play knight d7. It's important, by the way, knight d7. If you go knight c6, there is a very small problem. It's that after queen a4, let's assume, okay, you cannot go rook c8 because they just grab your pawn on a7 and there is a pin. So after rook c8, you're losing. So you have to go queen c8, which is defending. But now bishop e3, and he's preparing to take. And of course, the bishop won't be able to capture back. And if you take knight takes, and we feel the huge pressure on the c6 knight, which is of course not great. And this guy is also a little bit effy. And if you go knight e7, taking there now is very bad because you just take back with the knight and you're the king of the jungle. And if they, let's say they do something else like castles, then okay, the engine is even recommending taking there, but even bishop g6 is all right, or a6, which is really the main idea, and that is also why we play queen c8 and not queen c7. It is to just defend the rook. But okay, it's a little bit of some sidelines. Bishop e2 is the most crucial line to know. Here it's important to start with knight c6, putting pressure, and also after castles, now the most important move, and this is the only reason why this position is playable, it is that you can actually take on d4. But hey, what happens after knight takes? He took with the pawn, which is wrong, and we will see why. But what happens if you take with the knight? Now, actually, this guy is hanging, but if we take immediately, then we can start, the attack is coming, for example, this, and okay, let's say queen c8. This is, at the very least, it might become a problem. I wasn't really extremely precise. I think that in that position, after knight c6, there is something better. Directly probably taking there in rook e1. Yeah, and bishop e7, and there is like this idea of queen e2, and you can never really play knight f6 and then castle because then the bishop is hanging. So you have to play some effy things like a5, rook a7. But this is not even accurate. The engine, what does the engine say? I'm just a moron. I just miss that there is an easy takes like this. I'm just a moron. Anyway, the real reason why knight takes is interesting is because here you play knight g7. And now you already defended the knight, so bishop b5 is no longer a problem because you can just go a6. And if they take, you just take back with the knight. You're also attacking this guy, so they might actually go f4. But if they play a4, then we feel that the dog squares are actually very weak. And a5, okay, h5 is a typical move to go h4, h3, and just blast open the king. You can go check this out on your side, but this is very, very simple and interesting to play. Anyway, uh, if takes knight g7, and let's say for example they go, I don't know, knight d2, then you can just grab the pawn. So they are more likely going to take here and go bishop d3 in between. And if you take here, then takes and rook e1. So you better play g6 just to hold the knight. And even though you have some holes on the dark squares, it doesn't really matter anymore, since you can just play bishop e7 or bishop g7. We don't even have to reinvent the wheel, and then just castles, and it's all right. F4 castles, and the reason why this position is all right is because you have this breakthrough in the center, and it's a little bit advanced, but basically you have a breakthrough, so it's all right. And if they go g4, then you always have knight h4, so it doesn't matter. And your knight is never getting trapped. If you allow white to play 5 moves in a row and trap your piece, then you're just a moron and you deserve to lose. But otherwise, if queen f2, you can even play sometimes a line in which sacrifice a pawn. For example, h4, let's say queen f2. Okay, and now I already see h5 or g5. The engine says, Jensen says g5 is working now. Okay, because if takes, then I can go knight g6, and this guy is extremely weak. And if you push, this is also winning for us. So, okay. And you see, this is like some ideas that you have to remember. And otherwise, your position is great because you have a very active knight. But in the game, he took back with a c pawn, which is wrong because of knight bishop. I'm sorry. Knight g7 was playable. And then, of course, let's assume, by the way, nothing happens. Then you will play with bishop g6, knight f5, bishop e7, castles. But I choose the new idea that I want to show you, which is bishop e7. The whole point is that I will go knight h6, but only after having played h5. h5, h4, and I'm just ready to play h3, and he played h3, and the engine says white has a small advantage, but it's nothing extremely great. And here knight h6. And now if he wants to capture, I would just capture back with my rook, and okay, it's a very interesting position. You know, I have the bishop pair, and eventually some attack, who knows. But this is playable, and I think I vaguely had probably something in the same style, I don't know, 3 years ago on the board. But I ended up taking with the pawn because when I had the chance to capture with the rook, I thought, yeah, no, let's just play it like this. And I was dead lost, and I offered him a draw, and he took it. That was a very strange game. He was rated 200 or 300 rating points higher than me. But yeah, you know, it happens. Classical chess. B4. I played rook c8 because I felt that I could eventually be threatening some things over here. And now the engine says the only way for white to take an advantage is to play this rook c1. And now it says it's equal. So you have a very good position with the bishop pair. And a very interesting position anyway. Okay, I played rook c8. He played queen a4, pinning me, so it's very logical. And here, logically enough, I played a move and I just blundered, and I didn't realize that after castling, and I thought castling is logical, yeah. And I just didn't realize that he could take on h6. And okay, he did it anyway. And when he took there, I was like, oh no. Oh no. And okay, I didn't realize, so I took back. And the more I looked at this position, the more I realized it actually doesn't matter since I still have the bishop pair. And because he played h3 and let's say my pawn was on h3 and he had a pawn on g3 and h2, then it would have been a problem for me. But now he gave me this small attach here. So now my plan is basically just to move my king out of the way, put my rook on the g file, and probably everything will be all right. And so I did. King h8. And now, because by the way, rook c1 is a tough mistake. The only move, yeah, only move, is queen b3. If you want to go b5, I wanted to go knight e5 or knight a5. Knight a5 is something that I saw, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that I have this thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not in a great chess shape right now. I should apply the things in my chess books. Buy my chess books. Anyway, here the engine says huge advantage bishop g5. I played king h8, which is also logical. He played bishop d5. And I played rook g8, threatening something over here. And if you take there, I take here, and my threat is, of course, stronger. Because let's say I take, you move back, I go bishop g2, which is threatening to threaten. And if you move the knight away, then, okay, now the engine says bishop b4. And if you take, this is mate. Yeah, I had something vague in my mind, but we will see that in the game, but not right now, definitely not. He played king h1, and now I just went bishop e4, because if he takes, then I stopped there. I thought, okay, I should be the king of the jungle, and of course I am, yay. So bishop e4, he took on c6, but now in between, I just took on f3 just to destroy the pawn structure, and now I'm ready to eventually move my pieces out of the way and enter with a checkmate. He played the only viable move, knight e2. By the way, white is again slightly better, but it's still, you know, +0 the same, so it doesn't really matter. We played a very good game. And here I didn't know what to play. And I felt like if I sacrifice and I get into the action, then rook there. And I realized that I missed that I have rook c1 now. I thought rook g1 and it didn't work. The engine says it works. Here the only move is rook c6. Yeah, and now this and rook g1. Yeah, this is something that I had in mind. So I realized, let's just take first. And now if I move my bishop out of the way, probably nothing will happen. And I thought bishop g5. And the second I play bishop g5, I didn't see it before. I realized that I have f4, and I was like, oh no. And then I realized, oh wait, because I can take in queen g5, and now I'm threatening the knight, and if you move the knight out of the way, it's a checkmate, and basically now I'm winning. And he played some two more moves, and here he got checkmated, because because he missed the mate. So it was a very interesting game. You see like the practical vision when you're playing chess, but also you are learning, you in the chat, and right now on Twitch and of course on YouTube, you learned a lot about positional chess, some opening lines, and eventually even more on the practical chess. So thank you again. Buy my chess books, buy my chess lessons. See you in the future. Take care.